in terms of education is about the teachers. I thought about education, and I thought about why it's so important and what the important elements within education are, because we tend to look at our children and we say, and we have lists. Our children are failing, the boys aren't doing very well, they're getting kicked out of schools, the girls do much better than the boys, and they'll do even better if the boys weren't in the schools to mess them up. Then we have the teachers aren't able to teach.
Can I just break in there? Isn't that the argument of the Honourable Elijah Muhammad, that girls and boys should be taught separately because, we can focus more on what we're doing in that kind of environment? Yeah,
because we learn differently.
Can you sit a bit closer, please, sister?
However, look, I'm being I'm being directed and shepherded and moved. But yes, the Honourable Elijah Muhammad said that, but he said it in a more positive way. He said it in terms of getting the best out of the boys and getting the best out of the male and getting the best out of the female. But within this society, it's not said like that, brothers and sisters. When we're being spoken about, because no one really speaks to black people, if you haven't noticed, they speak about us, or they speak to us, but they're not speaking with us.
They make directions for us and then just give us the directions to be implemented, and then we go ahead and take charge. Well, not really take charge, but just follow the orders that have been given. Exactly.
Okay. So what happens, I nearly lost my point then, but I held on to it, brothers and sisters.
Go ahead, sister.
But what tends to happen is that they say, well, the girls are able to do very well, but the boys aren't. So what they're saying is that what they're doing is they're negating the ways that the boys tend to learn. And what they're doing is they're shepherding them off into holding pens, which are centres. So they have centres for the children who misbehave. And it tends to be the male, because their attention isn't able to be held the way that the teachers are teaching. So the schools are blaming the young boys. The teachers, the education system, the government, everyone is blaming the young boys and some of the young girls for them not learning. But really, the role of a teacher is to get the best out of those children. So, dependent on how good a teacher you are, is the method that you the methods that you will draw on in order to get the best out of the child. If you're a good teacher, when we're good teachers, brothers and sisters, we should be able to get the best out of our children, regardless to what condition they're in. Okay.
Hold on. Let me just recap. So you're saying that the girls do well in the current system, educated system, which was based on a system built in the 1800s.
They can do.
They can do, or tend to do, well.
Slightly better.
Slightly better than the boys. The boys are not doing well at all in the system that was built in the 1800s, or based upon a system around the 1800s where you have so many holidays, half terms, summer holiday and all that. And that is then turned on the capacity of the boys to learn. They look at the capacity and there's something wrong with us as males, rather than looking at the system.
That's right.
Okay.
Because remember, in the Bible, it said to kill the male and spare the female.
Okay.
So they're killing the male, not only in the workplace, but in the education system. So the men are made redundant. They're good for nothing. And so when they're good for nothing, then they leave us to go and kill ourselves and one another. And it's done deliberately because they have no use for the male anymore. They can use the female because we're very productive. We're very productive as women. We're adaptable in whichever environment. But again, it goes back to the system, because if every generation, the children are different, we say it all the time, these children are different. Where did they come from? These children are different. But since the children are different, how come the systems aren't being adapted in order to accommodate the children if we want to be successful?
But I think the system is being adapted, but not to our benefit, but more to our detriment, I would say.
Well, that's what we're looking at. We're looking at something that's going to improve our system, because there's no point in having a better system and it's better for everybody else but us, because that's not going to help us.
Right.
And that's why you'll find that more and more black people are having their own schools now, because we're getting to a stage now where we're feeling it so much that we're left with no choice apart from us having our own environments.
Say that again, sister.
We're left with no choice apart from building our own environments.
Okay.
Because what's been happening is that who feels it knows it, brothers and sisters. This is the point that I'm getting at. Who feels it knows it? Now, we knew that the education system, some of us, and I hear brothers particularly saying it a lot of the time, they came out of school not knowing how to read or write proficiently. Now, since they know that, it's the duty of the male to then produce and provide an environment for his own offspring, for his children, because the white man's doing that. The Jewish man is doing that. The Asians are doing that. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes,
but it's only the black man who isn't doing that, because the knowledge of himself has been actually decimated and destroyed. So he doesn't even know who he is, much less what his responsibility is at this point in time.
Kill the male
and spare the female. Right. And we can see that, you know, because it always goes back to the teacher and who's teaching you. And when we look at the school environment, and we see that the teachers that we had when we were in primary school, in secondary school, they didn't look like us, they didn't understand us, they didn't reflect us, which means that the connection wasn't there. Okay? Now, that's not only in school, because when we're looking at teacher brothers and sisters, we're not just looking at school, teacher, student, we're looking at parents, mother, father, teachers. We're looking at pastors, priests and fathers in churches. We're looking at colleges. We're looking at all forms of education, or wherever we're being taught something.
But can I just stop you for 1 second? What is actually stopping us from being the teachers? You said the teachers in your primary school didn't look like you, and I concur, the teachers in mine didn't look like me, or secondary school. But what is stopping us from being the teachers that reflect the children? What is stopping us from standing up as parents and being teachers and teaching our children? What is stopping us from being preachers even and teaching our children from our perspective where, you know, we reflect them because we came through what they're actually going through?
Right. I was going to come to that. But just to say that it's a lack of knowledge of self. And also, a lot of the time is that we know what we have to do, but we spend so much time talking about it that we just don't take the energy, or we don't have the energy to actually act on it. Because in the beginning was the word, as it says in the Bible. Then the word became flesh. So there's a certain time where the talking stops and we get to work, but we don't stop that talking stage. And again, another aspect of it is that we're waiting for other people to help us. We're waiting for this grant. We're waiting for this person to agree with what we're doing. We're waiting for this person to join on, or we're waiting for other people. When we were listening to Minister Donna Farrakhan last night, this is Minister Farrakhan's daughter, and she's a minister. She said that everybody's looking and waiting for Minister Farrakhan to say who's going to be leading after he's not here anymore. She said, it should be you.
You. Me. You.
Yeah.
It should be us.
And that's what we do. Exactly. It should be me. And that's the thing. It's about the responsibility, but it's about the mindset of a leader. And it's about having the mindset of a leader.
Okay.
But we're coming to that. So you're just...
Okay.
I'm not going to allow him to bore me. That's right. I'm not going to allow him to take me anywhere. But education, brothers and sisters, is the manifestation of the glory of God. Pardon?
Ooh, say that again, sister.
Pardon? Education is the manifestation of the glory of God. Now, it doesn't just mean instruction like teacher-student and